Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to be speaking at Cloud Bazaar one more time. This is the third time that I am speaking at Cloud Bazaar. And unfortunately, the last year as well as this year continue to be a remote experience. It's always much more fun to be in front of all of you and engage. But given the continuing times, this is as best as it can get. So here I am uh, for the third time at Cloud Bazaar. The topic, I guess, the theme of the show, the theme of the event this year is around commerce. And so the topic that I'm going to talk about is the future of e-commerce. While I know that, I kind of know the background of most of you who are here at Cloud Bazaar, and you have, a lot of connection in web development and related fields. What I have chosen to do is to not be very specific in terms of something which is directly related to web development, but to kind of see where the larger picture or larger sort of trends around commerce, around e-commerce are headed. And a lot of that connects back to the kind of work that you do, and maybe some of it doesn't. But it's like we are in very, very interesting times in the post pandemic world, and a lot of what is going to happen in commerce and retail behavior will have impact to what you're doing one or the other way. So maybe it should be interesting to you to understand some of these trends. So these, like I said, although the title says e-commerce, some of these are, we live in a omni-channel kind of a world. It's a mixed experience that a consumer has, whether they shop online, they shop through apps, they shop in the physical store, and yet technology connects them across all of these spaces. So it's not just pure e-commerce, but it's basically more of shopper and behavioral trends and technology trends. That's what the presentation is about. Okay, with that background, just a quick introduction of myself. Uh, I'm co-founder and joint CEO at Mirum. Mirum is a full services digital agency, and we are 275 people based in Mumbai and Delhi, and offer all kinds of services from creative media, technology, build, healthcare, etc. And we are part of WPP. We are actually part of the Wunderman Thompson operating company within the WPP group. Independently, we are also a gold consulting partner for Salesforce.com. And besides all of that, as a part of my entrepreneurial journey in the previous business that I ran, which was in fact in commerce, in fact, it was an e-commerce business called HomeIndia.com. uh, the experiences of starting it up and building it up have been converted into a book, and that book is called If I Had to Do It Again. So that's a little background of myself, and that's about all that I'm going to speak about myself. The rest of the content is going to be on the subject that I'm talking about, which is the upcoming trends in the commerce space. So I guess I don't think it needs me to tell you that the future of e-commerce in India is enormous. I mean, it's like, uh, while on the one side we see the increasing penetration of smartphones and devices giving a huge impetus to the growth, but all that has been around for a while now. What has changed, of course, in the last approximately 2 years of being in the pandemic is the fact that more and more of us first were constrained to use commerce because we were not going out into the stores. Stores were also closed, and that just converted it became a big habit, and a lot of e-commerce companies responded really well and made us all the more sort of accustomed and habituated to shopping online. And net net, it's just booming. It's just and of course, the consequence of that you can see in terms of the various e-commerce businesses going public and commanding phenomenal valuation and all that. So that all is a trend right now, and with good reason. Um, and this is expected to continue. So it's like we're while we are at a high rate of growth, I would believe that the next decade at least will see continuing growth and continuing innovation, and lot of change coming in terms of commerce, in terms of shopping behaviors, in terms of technology devices, etc. And what we can do today is just to see a few of those emerging trends. Some of them are right here, some of them are in early stages, but let's see the ones which we're talking about. They are in no particular order of priority. So I mean, if it's number one, doesn't mean that this is the first and most important one. Okay, there are some 15, 16, or some such number of trends that I'm going to talk about, and they just in 16 of them. There's no priority of these. So the first thing is what I refer to as live stream commerce, and while some of the core ideas you might have heard, but maybe I believe that there are some of the newer trends, probably already making their presence felt in western more developed markets, but very soon you'll see them becoming common in India as well. So live stream commerce is where what we're talking about is the physical store, which where consumer is going, has multiple roles. I mean, besides the fact that a person goes to maybe touch and feel and purchase a product, but that location uh, also becomes a place from where the store or the brand streams about product and product content. Okay, so 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 realize that while there is a static e-commerce store, uh, a lot of times customers have questions that, okay, how does it look here, how does it look from the back? If it's a fashion product like this, can you show me a close up? Can you explain to me how it's getting used? Now, the physical store has products. The studio or the warehouse where the products are stacked is not the right place. Here you have salespeople, those who are trained on the product, and the physical inventory itself is available here. So besides being the place where a person can come and actually shop, this could also be the place from where content around the product could be streamed. And now, what does it mean? So what does that do for you? How can you how can a business think about it? How can a brand think about it? And if you are working for a client, like what is relevant to them? The questions are, how are you utilizing your physical location? Is your physical store just the place from where somebody comes to shop, or are you using it for such additional uses as well? um, is your staff, is the people who work at the store, are they only good to handle the walk-in customer, or if needed, can they also do a good job of explaining a product in front of a camera, right, in terms of a video stream? Or it could be a video call. It's just like one-on-one video call. Some customer calls and says, hey, you know what I want to see now. I'm not sure if you would be familiar, but there are NRIs who shop for like wedding clothes in India, and this is what they do. They call a designer, and then the designer actually walks around with the product and shows them, because they're expensive products, and the NRI wants to be sure before they order, and that's what happens with the video call. And the point is, if habits have changed for good, then a large cohort of customers will not be going back to in-person shopping that often. And so, can you deliver a close to physical experience for these customers? So a video call or a video conversation is about as close to being in the store physically as against going to a website and seeing a static image, right? So this is one trend. The second is what can be referred to as compressed commerce. Now, it's like you wonder what this term is. Now, the role of e-commerce site or a e-commerce platform generally is multitude, right? It has got to, there is something, there's a role to play to inspire a customer about a product. There's a role to play to have them search and find a product, and there's a role to play in terms of a transaction itself. Now, it could happen earlier that the inspiration happens separately. Maybe you go to 100 stores and look around what you want to buy, and there's an inspiration happens, and that story is over. Maybe some other day you will look for search. So some other day you just go and search the kind of product you want, and again you kind of shortlist and you leave. And then at some point you say, okay, now I want to buy this, and then that day the transaction happens. However, in today's world, the stores, and especially let's say a business like Amazon, does such a brilliant job of taking you from inspiration all the way to transaction in one shot. So you're looking up a lot of products just maybe just to window shop, and before you know, you got lured into buying because of the way it's presented, because of the content, because of the discounts available today, right now, etc. And that means that it a commerce cycle is not happening over a long time. It's happening in one shot, and it's going all the way from inspiration to search and actually to transaction. um, Now, this happens more easily for mature platform like Amazon. But let us say if you are building out an actual e-commerce site for your client, it's a what I would call as a direct to consumer D2C commerce. Can you have elements in it which can actually compress the commerce cycle for the consumer? Which means there's good content, there is very intuitive user experience, etc. Those things are very relevant to kind of make sure that the commerce cycle is as compressed as you can make it. So basically, the questions at this point are to review your online commerce experience from inspiration to search to transaction. Is it well optimized for that? Review how quickly and easily consumers can pass through the journey on your website, and remove friction points to enable the consumers to transact as quickly as possible, right? So a lot of times otherwise you have friction points that, okay, you done this, now you have to do a KYC, or now you have to go somewhere and fill out a form and then come back. Now that's a friction point, they will just leave. In an Amazon kind of scenario, you don't need to do all this because you're already your information is there and very seamlessly finished. So inspiration, search, transaction all happens in your site. If you don't do that, then you're losing out the opportunity. Okay, so that's a second point. The third is great service wins, right? So yeah, this is more of a I would say not as much of a technology or point as much as actually the attitude and the like the way one thinks about the business. So you might think that you're selling a product. So you may say that I'm selling a mobile phone, or I'm selling a piece of clothing. So where is the service element? The service element is about the entire experience that somebody has, whether it's in the way products are presented to them, the delivery terms and conditions, the payment options which are there, so having somebody available to respond to questions, the post delivery or post ordering entire experience. All of that is a matter of service. Now, as a business, are all those things really done well? Because what we are seeing is that uh, howsoever be the big the brand may be, but if the service is not good, customers are dropping the brand and going to a place where the brand may not be as big, but the service levels are really high and prefer to shop there. Okay, so your fundamental foundation of the business is going to be around how good a service that you deliver. So so the point again here is that be aware that your customer list in the future may very well include those sorry I wrong point. Be clear about your services your customers expect or are getting elsewhere. So if your competitor is offering a certain service, are you are you offering that or not? And if not, then the competitor might win because the customer gets that service there. Build your brand around the services offered and not just the brand equity. Okay, so just don't just say, oh, I am this brand, people will just come. No, besides whatever you are, how great is your service? And a classic example is Apple, right? So Apple, probably one of the biggest brands in the world, but the service levels are also outstanding. Okay, so it doesn't just depend on the strength of their brand, that, oh, I am such a big brand, people will come anyway. No, in spite of all the great value of the brand equity, their service is of absolutely highest standard, and that's the gold standard. So whoever is your client, your brands, can you also think in that terms? Okay, so that's the point about service. Next comes value driven loyalty. Okay, now what this talks about, that um, when a customer becomes gives you loyalty, right? They keep coming back and shopping with you, with your brand. um, you know it is great, you give them some good deals, etc. What they're looking for is like really special value. Now, one of the biggest examples of value is in the is I'm sorry, a loyalty program which has value is Amazon Prime. Okay, I'm talking about the Prime. A lot of you might be Prime Amazon Prime customers. Now, what happens with Prime and Prime customers is that it encourages customers to think more positively about Amazon, and more importantly, it incentivizes Prime members to spend more money, buy from more categories, and think less about the price. And all of this while charging for the pleasure. So Amazon is charging you, but because the way the program is structured, that you get free shipping, or you get special prices, or you get exclusivity, etc. All that is spelled high value, and because of which customers tend to spend a lot more money and keep coming and shopping more. And in surveys that have happened, more and more people say that they're going to renew their Amazon Prime membership. Now, as against that, if you think in terms of loyalty, there are other frequent flyer programs and other points and all which are there. Now, unfortunately, while you accumulate a lot of points, you don't even know what they translate to. How does it really convert to value for you? Whereas with Amazon Prime, as an example, it's very clear that you're getting free shipping, or you're getting this, that, etc., and which prompts you to keep shopping back more and more there. So essentially, the idea is that re-examine the loyalty scheme and its rewards, and consider what value your customers gain by being part of it, right? And if you have the opportunity to replan it from the ground up, what would you want to change, right? And from a customer first perspective, what aspects can be monetized? So while they are becoming loyal, and like, how do you monetize further for the customers, right? So now, while it is a business idea, the point is, a lot of the loyalty programs and all are integrated into the commerce chain. So if you're building out a commerce store for a client, and loyalty has to be integrated, it needs to be integral, that okay, if I buy this, then I get these points, and these points can be used here, etc. And which is why it is equally important to you if you're a web developer, or a service provider, right? Next point is around the product and service digitization. Okay, so when you look at the overall extent of online shopping, uh, it might surprise you, or maybe it doesn't surprise you. Maybe it's obvious that a significantly large part of it uh, is products or services which are fundamentally digital. Okay, so when you buy a recharge on your phone, or when you buy a service of like OTT, what you're getting in return is a digital delivery, right? When you're streaming movies or things of that kind, you're paying for it, but the product itself is a digitized product, right? So and that now consider the fact that a customer is becoming extremely demanding. They want that, okay, I'll pay here, now I want quick delivery. I want delivery in 2 hours, 4 hours, one day. Now, a physical product, of course, can't be delivered in next to no time. but a product which is a digitized product, nobody is going to say that, okay, here I'm paying OTT just now, and it will take 2 hours before the movie is available for you to see. Nobody is going to wait for that. So it's immediate. Now, of course, with digital first products, there is no there's no question. But if you are offering any other kind of product, is there a way, is there an opportunity to digitize it? Right? For example, books, right? Now you could send a physical book, or you have a Kindle version, right? So the Kindle version is a digitized version of the product, which is a book, and likewise about audio content and things like that. So instead of sending a CD or anything, you're actually giving them streaming music, or you're giving them in a podcast. So one side is that yes, not everything can be digitized, because products are physical products. But then again, the second part, like for example, if you're selling an automobile online, you can't do anything about the automobile. It's a physical product. But around the automobile is a whole lot of other related requirements, like paperwork, financing, and etc. Can all of that at least be digitized? So even if the main product can't be digitized, can all the related requirements around the main product, can at least those be digitized? So at least those shrink, they happen quickly, and the customer feels that yes, he's got speed around it, right? Okay, next one is around what one might call the D2C fight back. Now, D2C is direct to consumer, right? Now, on the one hand, obviously, we see that the marketplaces, whether it's Amazon, Flipkart, and others, of course, dominate big time, right? In terms of the total number of sales. But if you are a brand, should you be happy just to be selling on marketplaces, or should you also have your own website? Right? Now the point is that ideally you should have your own website and sell also, simply because when you do that, first of all, it's completely branded and completely under your control, the way you want to sell it, the way you want to package products, the way you want to give discounts and promotion and everything. Also, of course, a very important part is the data of the customer and the shopping information and all, which with the marketplace you get very little information, because all that data remains with the marketplace. So there is a lot of value to being able to sell on your own, in addition to being present at a marketplace. But while doing so, the question obviously remains as to, will customers come and shop, because they're all going to the marketplaces? So essentially, that's the challenge, and you need to find a way to bring the customers. But what happened in the pandemic, when when stores closed down, and like a mom and pop store near your home was not on Amazon, and was getting enough business by people walking in, because it was a convenience factor. Now for several months people were not going, and their business was at risk. And by the time, if they had to go to Amazon and then get, they may not be catering to the loyal customers in the locality whom they were servicing otherwise. So somehow they fumbled around, but many of them found a way to offer their products online. Now, whether it was through a WhatsApp service or whatever, but it's one or the other way, it was a direct to consumer service. And that was the fight back that happened in the whole pandemic period. Now, building further on top of that, can they now make it a regular thing? Right? So that's your opportunity. So the points to take away on this is that investigate the various ways to quickly build a D2C e-commerce offering for your customer. Think about the advantages of going direct to your consumers, which is branding, special products, personalization, data, etc. And make D2C a vital part of your balanced channel strategy. So, channel strategies like marketplace, retailers, plus D2C, that becomes a good balanced channel strategy for your brand. Next point is about buying big, right? Big ticket e commerce. Now, like if I were to sort of question that, uh, what price point and above would you as a customer be willing to buy online, right? You say, okay, as long as it's 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, I'm okay. But when it comes to a vehicle and it's going to lakhs, or a real estate, you want to go, would you buy online? Oh no, I would want to go and touch and feel and see and everything, right? So yes, that is of course how it is. But increasingly, a small share of the big ticket items is also getting sold online, and that small percentage is only going to gradually grow, and it's happening because of various things, like for example, if it's a real estate project, now everything is there, and then the brand provides you virtual walkthroughs and augmented reality and this and that, and you're sensing as good an experience as being physically there. And then if you're convinced the brand is good, you may say, oh, why not, why can't I purchase? And the same things are happening in automobiles and various other places. So if you're a service provider, you say, okay, I'm working with a client which is selling automobiles. Do I um, offer or propose to them that they should sell online? Hey, why not? Because sooner or later their competitors will be selling, and if they're not selling it, they're going to be left behind, right? So basically, the takeaways are that it's time for big ticket sellers to also get their online experience right. Deploy the latest technology to facilitate the move, which may be things like VR, AR, AI, which can make the experience as good as physical store. And don't dismiss the fact that everything will be bought online in the future. It will be, and so your business needs to be an e-commerce business. That's as simple as it gets, right? So be prepared for that. The next point is around you know payment methods. Now, while of course we know all like online payments and everything is there, but even in the physical world, there were payments which were which were happening through biometric, through a fingerprint and everything. But the COVID made it a little more concerning that I don't want to touch anything as much as possible, so can there be payment without it? Now, as we speak, there are experiments, or there are trials going on. Like there's a program called Amazon One, or there's another one called Alibaba has something called Smile to Pay, where your body is itself a way in which you're identified, as much as your biometrics are gauged without you having to touch anything, and payments can be made and everything. So there is going to be a significant change in the way payments get made, and it's going to be as much contactless as possible, and yet very secure. Your identity and everything is going to be protected. So these changes are coming, and the COVID has only hastened the need and the adoption of these kinds of path-breaking payment mechanisms. So again, it might be little ahead in India, but still, you want to see that what is your long-term payment strategy, and are there innovative payment methods that you can start to test, at least for your client, for your brand, and understand that changing consumer demands around payment and hygiene to work out a stress-free, frictionless payment experience for your client, for your consumers, right? So that's the payment challenge. The next part is the beyond payment, the COVID hygiene hangover, as you would call it, from a customer experience point of view, right? So now, to some extent, let's say this is related to a physical store. In physical store, there used to be a lot of these touch screens where you could go and play around to find, because physical store had so many products out there. But you say, okay, I want to try, I want to see if more colors are available, or something else. So there are a lot of stores which have installed touch screens, and people could go and play around. But come COVID, and people getting worried about hygiene and say, oh no, I don't want to touch a screen which has been touched by so many people. So what happens is that there is gesture based interactivity. So you're not touching anything, but because of your fingers, you just do this much, and this screen moves and things like that. Those will need to come. Those technologies are definitely already available, but those will now quickly translate into in-store experiences. You might question that, hey, but there's also voice, right? Voice is a big one, but voice is fine if you're working at home and engaging on your device. But in a physical store with a lot of other ambient noise, your voice commands are not going to be easily recognized. But on the other hand, you could be standing in front of a screen and using gestures to engage with the screen, and that's your post COVID hygiene changes. So a lot of the hygiene factors that have been put in place by companies may have to be made permanent. So whatever was there for COVID may now need to become a regular affair. And when designing customer experiences in store, consider how to reduce physical touch and contact time, right? So that becomes the need going forward, because hygiene standards will need to remain high. Okay. Then comes the question of post-COVID gratification wave, and this is the part about um, during the pandemic, there were certain categories of products which forged ahead, whether it was all the hygiene products, the masks, and all the sanitizers and things of that kind, and a few other categories. Now we are kind of getting into in a period which you would call post-pandemic, and what could be the demand, what kind of products and categories could be in high demand, and uh, the whatever we are able to sense is that the categories which will have the highest kind of indulgence, and people will want to go after that, is it's in a kind of a revenge, because you were deprived of some of these for a longest of time, will include fashion, jewelry, luxury experiences, holidays. I mean, we're already seeing, right, travel is so busy again. So these are going to be in high demand. So if your client, their business is in any of these, be prepared to for the huge growth, because whether it's your website is tested enough for taking higher loads, or your CRM is set up for engaging for a larger number of customers knocking your door. You need to be prepared, because that's the change. So with vaccines already being administered, uh, what is your post COVID plan is what you need to check with your client. How will you reward your customers who stayed loyal during the challenging times? So there were customers who didn't move away; they were with you. Is that something you can do so that they remain your loyal customers in the post-COVID space? And if you successfully pivoted your business when COVID hit, what will it stand in the post-COVID time? So you made some significant changes. You change your product, you may just change your services, you pivoted. Will you remain pivoted, or you'll go back to your old business? So a lot of the post-COVID questions for businesses. The next point is the rise of the so-called mega peak. Now, what are we talking about? What we're talking about is that so the earlier conventional times, Diwali was the big time when shopping happened, and the bonuses used to be given then, and that was like very auspicious festive time, and that was the big shopping day. But now we all know that there is Independence Day or Republic Day shopping and all that, and then there is all these big billion days and Amazon Prime Day or whatever. So there are these other so-called days or weeks or periods which have been created, and those generate massive sales, because there's high discounts and a huge amount of promotions. In the US, there is Black Friday or around in the coming week, in fact, which is going to be a big event. Or there is in China, there is 11th November is like a massive shopping day when it breaks all kinds of records in terms of the amount that people spend. Now, this is going to be a regular affair. Now, so if your brand is going to have a sale of 100 in a year, the 100 is not being equally distributed. It is being distributed across seasonalities. But besides seasonality, there are these mega peaks that suddenly there is a huge spike of business on a particular day or a few days. Now, those will stretch your infrastructure, whether it's your servers or your all other capacities tremendously, besides of course the physical handling of the goods and inventory and everything. So is the business prepared? Because that's the way in which e-commerce is going to play out in terms of these mega peaks, right? So just to keep that in mind. Now, delivering the future. Now, the delivery of the product for the longest of time was a piece of logistics. So the brand is a brand. Okay, so you're buying an iPhone, you're buying a Samsung product or whatever. Oh, you don't really care about how it comes, as long as it comes home and gets delivered. But today, the delivery part of the business itself is very, very significant. I mean, and in fact, if you think about the Swiggies and the Zomatos, they are actually delivery businesses. Your earlier your food preference might have been dictated by a restaurant, but today it is dictated by the delivery brand, which is either Swiggy or Zomato. And same goes with other categories as well. So the delivery piece is a very significant piece in the e-commerce space. And so the things to think about is that if you're selling high demand products, make sure that the consumers can easily order them for delivery. So first of all, be sure that your delivery setups are done well. If they are not high demand, consider making them deliverable as a part of a D2C play. So if it's high demand, you may have your marketplaces and everything, but if not, at least even if they're not high demand, your website, your own D2C website should still have them available and being allowed to deliver. And consider if you can bypass physical delivery by digitizing your products, which we talked about earlier. So delivery is a big part of today's e-commerce puzzle piece, and be sure that you're getting that part right. Uh, then it comes to returns, and returns are again a big essential of the e-commerce cycle. And so it now today it's about how not only how quickly your product can be delivered, but also to how quickly it can be returned. Okay. In fact, when consumers are asked what do you think should change in online shopping, the most common answers are that they would like free returns, and second is that easy return. So the whole, first of all, that if I don't like it, I should be able to return it. And secondly, for returning, I don't want to be like having too much effort to be taken. Because what used to happen is that brands were getting their delivery even better and better. So I mean, maybe at some point you will see drones delivering to your home and all that. But what happens when the customer is to return something back? They still need to go somewhere and give the box or something. Then it's a big friction point for business, because if you're delivering so easily, why don't you pick it back also so easily? So the whole returns piece has to also equally get smoother and better. So businesses must review the returns process from a customer first perspective. Investment must be made into delivering a fantastic return service, because it's going to be a big differentiator in your for your brand. And remember that owning the infrastructure works best in the long run. So if you're going to be just dependent on multiple partners, and if they don't do good job, your brand hurts. So increase like brand like Amazon and others invest in their own infrastructure only for this reason, that they want to have the complete ownership of the customer experience, right? This is becoming an aspect that, okay, in the space, in the face of faster delivery, more frequent orders, easier returns, greater range, does that all happen at the cost of the environment? Because all of that means more carbon is being used, more deliveries, more times the vehicle comes, more time more boxes get packed, more trees get have to be felled to create paper and packaging. So there is an increasing sensitivity around sustainability amongst people now. So customers today are getting so sensitive that they are making a choice about a brand and about their own shopping habits, keeping sustainability and environment in mind. So are as a business, are you also taking that factor into consideration as a part of your business offering? So build a business and its operations ethically with sustainability in mind. Make sure to communicate your environmental and ethical credentials credibly. So you must tell that this is what we use, this is the kind of paper we use, this is the kind of packaging we use, we recycle, etc., etc. And at the same time ensure that range, ease, speed, and convenience can be delivered in parallel. So along with sustainability, you still obviously need to do the part about giving them enough range and speed and everything. So you need to balance both, and sustainability needs to be kept into consideration. And then there is the social commerce. So for the longest time we say, oh, social media is a part of the marketing piece, right? So you can have products featured and people generate interest. So the inspiration part, that I get inspired to consider a product, happens. And that's where a lot of the social media players remain. But what is needed to happen now is that from that inspiration to a transaction, can it happen also on the social media platform? So integration of the entire transaction mechanism in a very seamless manner. Okay, anything which requires a jump here and there is friction. Friction means a drop off can happen. So if the seamlessness comes, then more and more social commerce will happen, and it's not something that you might be doing. It's something which the platforms are going to put in place. It's just that as you see them happening, you need to see how more and more and how better you can put your client's business there as well. So evaluate how you're motivating consumers to move from social post to purchase today. So you are using currently social post and purchases somewhere else. So currently you're trying to motivate them that, okay, show something on Facebook or Instagram and get people to inspire to buy. But monitor developments that will enable true in-app social commerce, Facebook and Instagram for starters. So keep a watch on what these platforms are doing and how they are enabling integral e-commerce on that platform. And if as soon as you see it happening, invest into it, because it will be very, very big. And get ready to integrate with these technologies so that when they are tested and ready, you are ready to. So you keep an eye when they are doing beta tests, you want to test it out, make sure that you can test your brand's products as well. And as soon as they are launching full-fledged, then yes, you are also with them and are able to ride the wave of business with them. Um, then the next point is that while we saw the impact of COVID and how it impacted business, what if the next virus, which is a global virus and global impacting phenomenon, is actually digital? I mean, it's a digital virus which puts everything, uh, you know, bringing it to a big halt, like the virus which actually got people stuck at home. Now, can it happen? Yes, today, we need to be prepared for such eventualities, definitely. So, if that is the case, what's the level of preparation you have? So, the some simple question is, secure your networks, not just your corporate one, but all the connected ecosystems. That is it all secure? Review the resilience and currency of your business continuity plans and operations. If your main site goes down, if your main server goes down, how will your business continue? Because now there's an increasing dependence on your online business as business. You don't have a physical business. When you have a physical business, okay, this store is down, maybe I'll sell here, I'll sell there. But what if your server is down? What if your website is down? Then what is your thought about business continuity, right? You have to have a plan for that. And think anywhere operations. So right now you say, okay, operation is on this server, this website, etc. Can you switch to anywhere operation? Means identifying an operating model to allow your business to be accessed, delivered, and enabled anywhere. So how can your business be extremely portable, that it can move from year to year to year, right? So you need to think like that. Whereas like the COVID vaccine, COVID virus did not give us any advance notice, a digital COVID will also not give us advance notice. So we need to be prepared ahead of time. The next part is actually around gaming. Again, one of the categories which saw a huge jump in the COVID time, people were sitting at home, was in terms of video games. And video games have, of course, over time become more and more immersive. You are playing, you have your avatar, you're connected to the world, and your avatar is, like, you're very possessive about your avatar. And so that's you and your avatar. There are two different selves. Now, they were two separate, they were distinct in behavior. You were you and your avatar was your avatar. But today, in that whole immersive world, what's happening is that the two entities or two sort of identities are kind of becoming closer. Now, it various different ways. So there is in in-game purchases of products and apps, and I mean in the app itself, and you can buy the avatar look for yourself in your size, and you can wear it. All this is happening, and it's going to only happen more and more. So the question for you is that, essentially, how are you taking advantage of the gaming market, the growth of the gaming market? Is there a synergy between your brand and the gaming sector? You may say that, oh, I'm into financial product. I mean, I have nothing to do with gaming. Is it so? Can financial product also find a way to engage inside the gaming sector? Could you partner with a game company to provide a physical and digital collaboration? And are your customers asking for digital versions of your products to have in game? Okay. So you have a product. Do they want a digital version of your product which can become a part of the game? Now, these and many other questions need to be thought through, because there is going to be a much more immersive experience within the gaming world, and more people are spending more and more time on the gaming space. And that brings us to perhaps last point. And the last point is that the online education, we realize that through the whole pandemic, very young kids have spent more and more time on the screen and become, and of course, have got online education. But what's really happened is that, in any case, the what is known as the generation alpha, which is kids born between 2003 and 2016, were expected to be the most demanding digital consumers, because they are hardcore digital natives. They have been born in the middle of a very immersive digital world. So from a very early age, they'll be using digital products, like anything else you'd use. Now, with all that, with becoming a digital native, with with Amazon and other services pampering you and giving you quick services, you're already used to the world of wanting something and getting something, like instant gratification. And so they're by nature become very demanding customers. Now, if that was not enough, the last 18 months they have spent even more time online because of their education and schooling and everything, and which only means that they are going to use the online platform even more to buy more, and as they keep growing up. And so they're going to be a very big customer, but they're going to be very demanding customer. So are you prepared for that? So be clear what the next generation of consumers for your products and services expect. Ensure that you're in all the right channels to maximize the opportunities to sell and support, and get your end-to-end customer experience, from inspiration to search or transaction to delivery to repurchase, right, for this kind of demanding customer base. Okay, they're not going to give you a second chance. So yes, those were the top uh, sort of big trends which I wanted to share at this point. They've gone from product to service to behavior and delivery and everything. I hope you found this to be useful. Just to give you a idea, that a lot of these ideas, most of it have come in. We are part of Wonderman Thompson Group, and there is a big Wonderman Thompson Commerce uh, division, and a lot of the research, first level research, comes from them. And this presentation has leaned a lot on the Futures 2021 report that Wonderman Thompson had come up with. So with those words, I say thank you, and hope you like the presentation.